Am I the asshole for refusing to let my boss's kids eat my food? In February, I, 19 female, arrived in the US as an au pair. If you don't know how the program works, basically you're hired as a nanny but you're not paid a lot. I get $196 per week. Because the family gives you a place to stay and food, in their house. And they also pay for your studies, up to $500. It was the only way I could afford to have the exchange experience, and I really wanted to take this chance, so I came. The 2 kids I take care of are great. We talk a lot and I already learned so much from them. The problem I have it's with their parents. Since I arrived, they told me that I'm only allowed to eat the items from one cabinet, nothing else. And they will only replenish once a month. And they have cameras and will see if I try anything. I don't know if this is true but I won't steal anyway. In my cabinet they just put tortillas, a few canned vegetables, beans and mac and cheese boxes. No snacks, drinks, cheese or meat, chicken, none of these. I talked with my agency here and they told me that the family is allowed to do that as long as they give me food. And I can try to match with another family, and wait for the process, or go back home. I don't want to give up so I stayed. But the food thing was really getting to me, so I started to use the money to put things in my cabinet. The problem is that they are super healthy, and they don't let their kids eat Chips Ahoy, Pringles, beef jerky, stuff like that. I wasn't trying to eat in front of the kids on purpose. But I spend most of my day with them, when they aren't in their classes, and I get hungry, so I eat in front of them, and they started to ask me to eat too. My money doesn't get me very far, my parents have no way of helping me, and these snacks can last for days when I pace myself, so I just told them they would need to ask their parents for snacks cause I didn't have a lot to share. They did, and their mom blew up at me, in front of them, telling me that I had a lot of audacity denying her kids food inside her home, that if I ate in front of them, I had to share, and that I couldn't bring this kind of junk into her home. I couldn't really say anything in fear of her just dumping me on the street, but I told her I didn't have enough money to buy an amount that I could share with her kids, or buy healthier, and that I would really like to share mine if they shared theirs. I meant the food the family eats. I don't ask the kids for their snacks or food ever. She said I was lucky she really needed a nanny and that's it. I told my parents about it and they think she's wrong but that I am too for how I dealt with it, and for taking it out on the kids when it's not their fault. My au pair friends also think asshole for denying food to little kids. Am I the asshole? And WIBDA, if I kept buying junk even after she told me they aren't allowed in her home? I was reading an article the other day about how nannies are in such short supply. I would leave that family and find another. You're young, on a visa, and think you have to let these people treat you however they want. That's so far from how it should be. $196 a week? That breaks down to, what, $2 an hour at the end of 6 days. You're not the asshole. You're just working for assholes. And your agency is run by assholes. Get out of that place ASAP. Any human being who doesn't provide a person living under their roof, employee or otherwise, with fresh food, you say you only get tinned options, and then gets revved up when you don't share snacks that you have personally paid for on your piss-poor $2 an hour salary. Snacks that she doesn't even endorse her kids to eat is a huge red flag. Actually, it's hundreds of red flags, location flag waving all at once. Get out. Get out now. There's a massive power trip going on and it's not going to get any better. This isn't a Am I the Asshole post. This is a AIBA Am I Being Abused post, and yes, this is abuse. You need to request a new assignment from your agency. There should be no issue with a new assignment. Also let the agency know about this family so anyone else coming will get the lowdown on this horrible woman. They are looking of childcare but really are looking for slavery with extra steps. Get out, this woman will not change her tune. You are not the asshole, but since your agency will not help, which is a disgrace, you need to leave. I am surprised that a diet of nothing but shelf-stable foods would be considered appropriate. That tells me that your agency is garbage. This sounds more like human trafficking than a legitimate business. I understand that you were to receive certain privileges in exchange for nannying, however denying you proper food is completely inappropriate. Definition from the Department of Homeland Security. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery and involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act. Human trafficking definition. You absolutely need to get another family or go back home. It is sick they only allow you the bare minimum of food. Am I the asshole for always dumping lemon on all my food? I might be the asshole here and will accept my judgment. I grew up in a big household where all food and leftovers were fair game, even when I became old enough to buy my own food. To combat this, I started absolutely drowning my food in lemon juice. I could tolerate the taste, and even grew to quite like it. No one would touch my prepared foods or leftovers. It's a habit I've carried well into adulthood. I recently went on a large trip with some girlfriends. The Airbnb and excursions are all evenly split, Food is paid for by ourselves because some people have specialty allergies or foods. We have been going out to dinner the last few nights. I always ask for extra lemons at the table and soak my food before eating. After a couple days into the trip, one of the girls complained at breakfast that I was making food inedible to other people. This was news to me since the only food I was lemoning was my restaurant leftovers that I would eat the next day. What apparently had been happening since the first night was one of the girls, the one who complained, stays up later than the rest of us, and would eat or pick at any leftovers, disregarding the names on the containers. After 2x trying my food on separate occasions, she realized what I was doing and was pissed. I said she shouldn't be eating others' foods that weren't communal, and she said, well, it's just how the rest of us feel. No one else at the table said anything and breakfast was tense. Later, while getting ready to go out, the other girls one by one told me that they didn't like their leftovers being eaten and were glad I said something, but didn't want tensions going forward. That night at dinner, I purposely lemoned my food again. The complainer made an angry noise and stormed off to the bathroom. I didn't say anything and the rest of our dinner continued normally without her until she came back out sniffling before we left the restaurant. She gave me dirty looks the whole ride back. I am exasperated by this nonsense drama, but maybe I am being a jerk. Am I the asshole for souring the trip? Lemon. Not the asshole. I can't believe she's mad because she can't eat your food when you're not looking. I'm guessing she probably gets something small and cheap at the restaurants too, and that's how she's trying to save money. Not the asshole. She sounds like a mooch. Not the asshole. I'll tell her to stick to her own box of leftovers or suffer the consequences. I will say, although not asked to judge, your friends softly are the big brown eye for not standing up to the girl and telling her they didn't like her stealing either. That's what's giving this girl her sense of entitlement, and everyone else feels the same way. Congrats on having a backbone. Not the asshole. Am I supposed to season my food to your liking so you can steal my food after I go to bed? I'm preparing my food my preferred way. Eat your own damn food. Not the asshole. I think you and the rest of your girlfriends need to re-evaluate your friendship with this girl. Obviously this is something that has been going on for a long time. And to gaslight you and say all the other girls are with her shows a clear sense of entitlement. That the rest of your girlfriends came up to you and thanked you for speaking up about this shows they were not on the same page as this mooch. I say future girl trips, leave the mooch at home. Not the asshole. It's your food. It would be one thing if you were dumping lemon all over a meal to be shared with a group, but just your food that only you intend to eat? Make it as crazy inedible as you want. Douse it in lemon, hot sauce, whatever strikes your fancy. Am I the asshole for refusing to give up the master bedroom to a friend's boyfriend during a group cabin trip? Posting on a throwaway because my girlfriend knows my main. My friend group, me, 26M, my girlfriend, 25F, and friends J, 25M, Eva, 26F, Liam, 25M, and Frank, 26M, has a tradition of renting a cabin every summer, winter. The cabin has a master bedroom, double bed, a twin room, 2 single beds, a loft, 2 single beds, and a pull-out couch in the living room. My girlfriend and I have always paid extra to use the master exclusively. Everyone else shares the remaining beds, and Eva usually takes the couch since she snores and doesn't want to room with a guy. This year, Frank asked if his boyfriend Ed, 28M, could come with us. None of us hadn't met him, but Frank said he'd cover meals to make up for the cost. Ed seemed nice at first and paid for dinner the first night, which was cool. Problems started when we got to the cabin. Ed said he and Frank wanted to take the master bedroom. I told him, maybe a little harshly, that my girlfriend and I usually use it since we pay extra. Ed said he didn't get what the big deal was and that we could sleep in one of the single beds or the couch. These single beds are small and could not comfortably fit 2 people, plus Eva would have to share a room with one of the guys, and she didn't want to. Ed said that my girlfriend and Eva could share the couch, and I could room with one of the other guys. I didn't want to room with a guy when my girlfriend and I have been together a lot longer, and there's no reason for me to room with someone else in favor of a couple who's been together less than a year. Jay and Liam tried to help, like giving Ed and Frank the couch so they could sleep side by side, but Ed said he didn't feel comfortable in open spaces and insisted on the master. Ed and I argued more, and he called me homophobic, saying I didn't support his and Frank's relationship by not letting them share a room. I was about to shout when my girlfriend shut me up and told Ed we'd take the couch. We didn't see them much the rest of the trip. I mostly hung out with my girlfriend and Eva on hikes. Ed and Frank used the master and left a few days early. My girlfriend Jay, Liam, Eva and I have been talking about what happened. Jay supports me, but Eva and Liam said I made a huge deal out of nothing and that letting them have the master for a week wasn't a big deal. Even my girlfriend says I took things too far by keeping everyone up. I'm still pissed about being kicked out of the room, but I think I might be asshole because it was late and everyone wanted to sleep, but I kept dragging out the argument, and I didn't welcome Ed after he argued with me. Am I the asshole? Too long did not read. I didn't want to give up the master bedroom, that my girlfriend and I pay extra for, to a friend's boyfriend on our group cabin trip. Some friends say I overreacted and should have just let them have it to keep the peace. Not the asshole. I have a few problems here. Aside from the fact that you paid extra, why did your friend not end this as soon as his BF, who had never met you, cashed you homophobic? Second, if this was his first time meeting the friend group, that is a horrible first impression. Joining a regular friend group vacation, he should be sitting back, figuring out the dynamics and getting to know everyone so he gets everyone's blessing, something he did not do. Finally, if they just wanted a week away to have sex, it shouldn't have been on the friend's vacation group. Honestly, your friend is maybe the bigger A for not standing up for his friends. Right, we pay extra to share that room, should have been the end of discussion. Ed sounds kind of entitled. Any of the solutions he suggested for you is something he and Frank could have done. It's ridiculous that you wound up paying extra to sleep on a couch, which also made things inconvenient for Eva. Why was the bed situation not discussed as soon as it was agreed that there'd be an extra person, another couple on the trip? Also, not the asshole. Frank knew that you always took the master. Ed may not have known, but when he brought it up, Frank should have told him that you always pay extra and take that room, and perhaps next trip they could arrange something different. They have no right to demand undiscussed changes at the last second and then throw out the homophobia card when they don't get their way. And I say this as a gay man. Use your words in advance like adults and everyone can leave happy. Not the asshole, but why on earth did you argue with a guest on your trip? I would have ignored him while unpacking my suitcase. You didn't make a big deal out of it by arguing when you were right. You didn't have a point to make, you didn't need to make a point. Make sure you get back the extra money you paid for the master bedroom. You paid for the room. I don't understand how sexuality has anything to do with it. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for refusing to sign my parents' house, which is under my name, over to my wife if I die? So here is the backstory. In 2008 my parents lost most of their money and it got to the point they were no longer able to afford their house. My dad is quite a bit older than my mom, and his biggest worry is that he is not able to leave her enough to live and pay for a home, rent, without having to financially rely on me and my sister. So this is the plan we came up with. We found a house with a large lot that we bought under my name. My parents put down a significant amount of their savings for the down payment for the property, and to build a detached accessory dwelling unit for them to live in. I lived in the main house for a while, and my parents in the ado. The agreement was once I moved out, we would rent out the main house. I would be responsible for the main house, maintenance, repairs, etc. And my parents are responsible for the ado. We would split any property taxes not covered by the rental of the other property. I live in a very expensive area, so my parents will have a place to live for the rest of their lives with no stress about becoming homeless. And I end up with a great investment property that I already have quite a bit of equity in. I have the house in a trust. In the event of my untimely death, the ownership of the house will transfer to my parents, and then transfer to my partner, offsprings once they pass away. My wife wants me to change the trust to have the deed of the property go to her instead of my parents. She says she of course will let them live there but wants control of the property if I die. I feel really uncomfortable signing over the house my parents paid for to her. Even though it's in my name and I'm spending some money on property taxes and maintenance, I consider it their house since they have paid for everything. Part of the reason I feel uncomfortable is because when we were updating our life insurance policies once we got married, she made sure I removed my parents as beneficiaries and added her on as 100% beneficiary. But then refused to add me as a beneficiary to her policy and had 100% going to her sister. Am I the asshole for refusing to sign the house over to her? Part of the reason I feel uncomfortable is because when we were updating our life insurance policies once we got married, she made sure I removed my parents as beneficiaries and added her on as 100% beneficiary. But then refused to add me as a beneficiary to her policy and had 100% going to her sister. Yeah, that's some red flags right there. Like, that's a big one, right there. She's covered if you die, but you aren't if she dies? Not the asshole, and I'd consider counseling at a minimum. Sorry honey, the house is in a trust, I won't change it. And change the subject, if she brings it up again, rinse and repeat. Not the asshole, this trust was pre-marriage so she gets squat. If you change it now the argument could be made that it was made during marriage. Don't. Not the asshole. Your wife has not paid any money towards the house, has she? Do not sign the house over to her because if something happens to you, who's to say she won't kick your parents out of the ADU? Not the asshole you married her so it sounded pretty reasonable until she made her sister the beneficiary and you just stayed married to her. Like what is even going on here? What kind of marriage is this? Why are you still married to her? She is using you. I bet if you were to unfortunately pass away, she will boot your parents out of their home. I'm sorry, would she have her sister as the beneficiary and not you? WTF? Please trust your gut and don't sign it over to her.